Hi, welcome to another episode of Some Seminarians podcast, a podcast produced and starring seminarians from the Archdiocese of San Antonio. Today I'm joined with Joseph Duque.
Hi, Moses.
And Prashanth Kumar.
Hi, Moses.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. A lot of us have had this experience. It's cultural Catholicism, right? And so not necessarily about the teachings and doctrines of the faith, but rather like how we experience the Catholic faith in our cultures and where we come from, which can look very different, right?
Yes. Like when it comes to India, like like many Mexicans can relate to Our Lady of Guadalupe. In the same way, in India, we have a popular shrine called Our Lady of Velankani.
Our Lady of what?
Velankani.
Velankani. Okay, Our Lady of Velankani.
Yeah.
That 5 minutes fast.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to pronounce the name, but it's very, very simple. Velankani.
Velankani.
Yeah, so it's a place in the south of India, and it's first in 16th century when the group of French were trying to come to that place, try to come to India,
right?
And they were in a shipwreck in the middle of the sea, and they prayed to Our Lady, and if they would reach safely, they would build a shrine. Okay, that's the first point of Our Lady's shrine coming up there. And later on, Our Lady appeared to a handicapped boy who prayed to Our Lady, whom he had no idea who it was. So she appears there, and he gets healed. And then later on, it grew into a very large shrine in India. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. How do you?
And so, like that shrine, would you say that whether you're Catholic or not, there's kind of a reverence toward Our Lady?
Yeah. So in India, see, the Hindus naturally worship all gods because they believe that in a concept, one God, many names.
Okay. Yeah.
So that way, they are open to all religious experiences, and Our Lady is a special attraction for them because they can relate to one of their gods, and they think that we use the usage of Mother of God, and where we call her Mother of God, they literally take it as God's mother, and she's a goddess. So that way, so many people want to relate to Our Lady. So besides that, Our Lady is a huge attraction for all kinds of people in India, because even Muslims, they can relate to Our Lady because she's a mother of the Prophet Muhammad. So that kind of relation is there. So wherever Our Lady shrines are there, very popular ones, especially this place, millions of people flock every year there. So it's a big attraction for people to go to the shrine there.
So at the shrines, if they're not Catholic, do they still go in and participate in the Mass, or do they just come to the shrine like on a pilgrimage to reverence Our Lady as a goddess? Or
because it's a very popular shrine, and most of the time, this non-Catholics will not have the basic catechesis of the Eucharist and what is a statue and what is a God and things like that. So they believe that a statue is a kind of incarnation, part of the incarnation. They have it's a deity almost. So it has certain godly qualities. So that kind of relation is there, but a lot of people come without knowing any difference between the Mass and the kind of Hindu ritual. They simply come and they pay respects. They pray as though they're praying to a god. They don't know the difference. They offer the flowers, they burn the candles, they pray, and they shave their heads.
Really?
Yes,
shave
they
their
do
heads?
that.
Why?
In Hindu culture, they go to temples and offer their hair, something they feel
Joseph,
it's a precious thing. It's related to. Yeah, coming from Hindu culture, it has a large influence on Catholics too, because we are all converted from Hinduism. And also, what is little meaningful is that when the baby is born, they want to offer God the first fruits, like first offering. So the baby is taken to the temple, this shrine, and they shave the head, irrespective of boy or girl, after 11 months of the birth. So it's a kind of, it's very popular among Hindus, and many Catholics do this. So it's coming from Hindu culture. But they don't do as Hindus do. but they have different understandings among Catholics.
Right. Different.
Okay, it's a kind of thanksgiving to Our Lady after the gift of child and a gift of marriage, gift of life, and all that. It's not that they offer it to a god, a kind of an offering to God. No, it's not that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it makes me think of like how we can relate that to here in the States.
Right.
More in like the I guess Mexican American culture, how I guess cultural Catholicism plays out. You mentioned that before, like you were talking about Our Lady, but here we have Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing we have in San Antonio, especially.
Right.
Yeah. I know you can like go around town and just see like murals.
She's everywhere.
Pictures. Yeah, I know.
she's in wall murals, T-shirts, cars.
I even went to a restaurant one time. Like the logo was like a play off of, of the image.
Yeah. I was surprised too. Like I visited a few of the restaurants and even some small pubs where there is a big altar and so many pictures, so much of religiosity. That's something very weird for us to see. Coming from India, for me, I was shocked.
Right.
But I was very happy to how people are so much into the culture, into the faith. That's something that gave me kind of eye-opening for the culture.
No, you make a good point there, because here at Assumption Seminary in San Antonio, we have seminarians from other dioceses throughout the United States, and the Diocese of Little Rock, Arkansas, some of those guys, they came to San Antonio at Assumption Seminary, and they noticed right away, like at Walmart and at HEB, our grocery store, that we have like a section of candles and Our Lady of Guadalupe, and they're like, whoa, what is this? Like this, you would never see this back in their home diocese, because culturally, as you say, Joseph, it's a fabric of like our identity here in San Antonio, most especially our name, San Antonio, coming from St. Anthony. So seeing the integration of the Catholic faith and culture as like the foundation of this part of the country, and that the Franciscan influence. We have the beautiful gift of the missions here in San Antonio, seeing them still alive as vibrant parishes and still feeding the faithful and bringing the presence of the gospel message here locally, and seeing again how it's integrated into our identity and culture.
Even if like they attract tons of tourists each year, like even those who aren't Catholic, it's just something to go to see the Catholic culture. Well, not even the Catholic culture, just the culture itself here in San Antonio.
Exactly.
The name San Antonio, I can relate very well, because my home parish in India is named after Saint Anthony.
Oh, really?
So it's a big shrine, and thousands of people come to that too. So I felt very happy when I thought about there too, a lot of people come. See, people of Hindus, Muslims, everybody come to the shrine and they pray to Saint Anthony. Saint Anthony is known to be a miracle worker. So something like that. So interculturally, all people want to flock, even Hindus, Muslims, everybody come and pray. Something I could relate that to San Antonio. The place, wow.
That's amazing. I mean, that speaks to universality of the Catholic faith, but also I like that you're mentioning St. Anthony Miracle Worker. I mean, if I lose something, he's a go-to, right? You gotta pray to St. Anthony, because he'll find it for you.
Yeah. I can relate. I can say some testimony maybe.
Sure,
because twice I lost my phone and I prayed to Saint Anthony. I got it back in between few years gap. I literally got my phone back.
Really?
One phone I got within the same day I lost, and one phone I got after a month, many years ago. And both the times I had prayed to Saint Anthony. And one time, the second time when I lost my phone, I prayed to Saint Anthony. Saint Anthony, if you get me this phone back, I'm going to give this testimony in the church during the mass. So every Tuesday we do read testimonies after the mass is over. Anybody can share the testimony, and the priest will, very brief one, priest will immediately share the testimony after the mass. And if that person is present in the mass, the person will stand up and show their face. It's so good.
That's awesome. So you do that at your home parish back in India. There's an opportunity. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We're talking about St. Anthony and the Franciscans and the missions too, because we still have Franciscans at the mission. So you go to the missions here in San Antonio, and a Franciscan comes out in his habit, and you're like, whoa, what's
it's
time?
Just like I'm warp. Back in the 18th century.
Yeah, no doubt that the tourists who are visiting, just from a tourist perspective, not religious perspective, see them, and I'm sure they're like, oh, cool, you're a costume, like a paid actor. And it's like, I'm sure they're like, no, I'm actually a Catholic priest, I promise. And another thing about San Antonio, I think in the culture, the cultural Catholicism we see here locally is the Passion Play that we have every Good Friday during Lent. Downtown, we process through from Milan Park all the way back to Main Plaza right in front of San Fernando Cathedral. And there's just like hundreds, if not thousands, of people who just come to the streets. You've been there, right, Joseph? And it's just like...
I actually haven't.
You have? Wait,
I'm sorry.
You didn't do it with Archdiocese 101? Like, you didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's in the summer, so.
Oh, you're... I take that back. Okay. So the Passion Play downtown.
Yeah.
But the first year of seminary, everyone does it. In your first year during Lent, like during Holy Week.
My first year in seminary, it was like right after COVID,
so they didn't have it. Maybe okay, perhaps.
Yeah. So I had the chance of
being
there this year, and most of some of the discerners were there. It was a very powerful event I witnessed here, and it was very moving. And those actors were really involved, and I think the Spirit of God was working through them. And then two things that struck my mind, blown me very powerfully, was it was raining so badly this year, and it was so cold. And all of these actors were getting drenched in the rain, and they were doing it very well.
Right.
And besides that, Archbishop and Father Carlos, they were getting wet, and they were barefooted.
Yeah, I remember.
And I didn't know how they would do that. It was very, very hard for anyone to do that.
Yeah.
So God really worked.
Absolutely.
Very, very well through them.
Right. And even then that it was, when we went most recently, it was cold and rainy, and there were still a lot of people, like as the rain started to subside, more people just started coming out. And I remember I went when the weather was fairly nice, certainly warm, but there were just a lot of people like hoarding on the side of the streets, following the procession, and even like interacting with people and talking with them after the experience. They're just really moved by it. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because as we communicate and catechize the faith, there's a lot of ways to communicate the faith.
True.
But through drama and a play, I think is a unique way to share that expression of the gospel message.
True.
And having people to relate to it and understand it.
True.
And I think that's a beautiful way here in San Antonio, that through our culture, through our experience, we're using images, we're using this drama, and it's telling a story of love and that Christ has for us. And people experience that, and they really, really appreciate that. And so that's
there's something else we could say about that. Well, we're talking about cultural Catholicism, and like another way that people use that term is like someone who I guess uses the name Catholic but doesn't really like fully practice it or believe everything. But instances like this, the Passion Play, or even like visiting shrines, chapels, beautiful churches, like maybe even the cathedral downtown that we have. Someone may go to these events just because that's what you do. That's what that's what their family is going to. So why not tag along? But you never know. God is surely working in those moments to have someone have a deep, impactful experience that they can really rethink or go into a deeper level in their faith, to like really have a transformative experience. So maybe bring them from being, I guess, culturally Catholic to practicing or on fire Catholic.
Sure, absolutely.
Like Passion Play that we do here in San Antonio. So something similar we have in India, especially in my home parish, home diocese. I'm sorry. So one of the priests introduced this biblical play maybe 35 years ago in one particular village. He trained the whole village to enact this biblical dramas or biblical plays every year. So every year, second week of Lent, they normally play this play overnight, and Saturday night overnight they play starting from 10 o'clock night to morning 5 a.m. So thousands of people gather there, and it's a very powerful way of evangelizing. And in a place like in India, and we are not very big in number, so especially the overall percentage of Christians is 2%, and my state is 3%, and so very many people make it, and then biblical messages are given to them very powerfully through these actors.
Wow. How often do they do that? Every year?
Every year, second week
it's
of
a different
Lent. Yeah.
scripture? It's a different play, drama? Okay.
True. So different passages and different, sometimes they take a particular book. So maybe Isaac and Abraham.
Right.
So like that, different themes are taken,
Yeah.
and the whole theme is played out, and it's very beautifully done.
So they display it at the parish, you said, like for everyone to come and
they've set up a kind of permanent structure, like place where they play, and the whole people are sitting, and they use a particular church also, and the people at the same time there are 500 or 600 kids. They for different songs they start playing, dancing around on the church. Yeah. Around the place, on the kind of stage kind of thing they have set up. So it's very beautiful. Right. So it looks very beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. I like what you were saying earlier, Joseph, because I think our Catholic faith is extremely rich and beautiful, and there's so much to it. It's overwhelming, actually. But looking at all the different layers in which we can experience it, and I think from the cultural standpoint, like what we're talking about, you can experience a certain level of the faith. But the beauty of peeling it open like an onion and diving even deeper. And I think even here in the seminary, having that opportunity to like recognize, okay, culturally, I've experienced the Catholic faith in this way, uniquely from India, uniquely from a South Texas, Mexican American, Hispanic heritage, or otherwise different cultural backgrounds. And really like having that conversation with one another, recognizing how universal the church is, and our cultural experiences have an impact on how we understand the faith, right? I think that's something for me, at least in one of my courses recently, like looking at the cultural understanding. We were in the same class together, looking at that cultural understanding that we bring with us when we understand the faith, but knowing as we train and study for the priesthood, God willing, that we dive even deeper into the doctrines and into the theology and understanding those tenets of faith through beyond just this simple, I shouldn't say simple, but beyond the cultural lens and experience, and looking at how that universal experience is orienting us towards Christ and closer to Him. Yeah.
So everywhere, I think most people they don't know about the doctrines in depth, but the simple faith the people carry, and the simple love they show towards a crucifix, towards Our Lady, offering a flower, and this is how they want to express their faith. And then I think this is being very strongly given by the families, by the parents to the kids, and that's how they carry forward to this day, I think.
And if I may, like the risk though that we play if we're not fully catechized and understanding the doctrines and beliefs of the faith, that we can move over in the direction of superstition, right?
That's true.
Which we've certainly probably seen in our own lives and those that we know, but like this superstition of like the statues or candles or otherwise, like really going in that direction, and you know, oftentimes there's this misunderstanding of the Catholic faith that Catholics worship statues. Perhaps it might be true, if I may say, in some individuals' lives where they've come to that place in their journey where they start to have superstition towards a statue, unfortunately.
But that's not what the Catholic Church itself teaches, and that's not what we're supposed to practice or believe.
And even at that, I would say, if I just, for the audience listening, like, just as you would have an image of your grandmother who's passed, or a family member, and you have it in your home, and maybe you carry it and hold it with you because it orients you back towards the memory of your loved one. Similarly, then for the Catholics, that's how we treat images, icons, and even statues, where they help us to direct us back to a devotion to the saints or to Our Lady.
Very true. Because when I was, my parents and my grandparents, they're not very educated. So but they had a solid faith. They knew that this is a Eucharist and this is not a bread. So that kind of clear distinction. And then that's what they taught us. Though they did not teach us the simplest, the in detail. They have taught us that basic faith, basic truth. So as we got educated, more and more educated, we learned learned through catechism, through Sunday catechism, and then First Communion confirmation classes. We had a lot of catechizing, and a lot of things are taught to us. Therefore, we know much better compared to our parents or grandparents. But they had stronger faith than us. That's what I feel.
No, absolutely. One thing that's coming to my mind also too, it's interesting that we talked about Our Lady a lot, and it's leading me to think of the Rosary actually, and that's another cultural element that we find. Like, we can definitely see a lot of people wearing the Rosary around their neck, and perhaps not knowing how to pray it, at no fault of their own, certainly, but that they identify that with hope, protection, even that they'll wear it around their neck as jewelry, perhaps. But seeing that kind of cultural experience, I definitely see that here in San Antonio a lot.
No, that's something I grew up with. Something I grew up with too. I remember, like, when I was in religious education classes, like my teachers saying, like, no, don't wear it around your necklace. It's not jewelry. You pray with it.
Like in India too, it's like Our Lady is a big thing among Catholics, and then the month of May and October is known to be month of Marian months, and rosaries are very often prayed, and Our Lady is being celebrated. And in India, what is very special is during the month of October, we used to set up a kind of tent, a kind of temporary tent in streets, and place Our Lady's statue there. And we used to, the whole street or different streets come together and pray Rosary every day, maybe for 10 days or for a whole month. And it's a big expression of faith, and where a lot of Hindus come in, and they come and pray, and every day some food or something is offered after the prayer event is over. It's not because the food is offered people come, definitely, but it's everybody feel like they want to offer something. So today let me give something. Today, okay, I want to give. So that everybody is willing and voluntary. Really, they want to come forward to give something, and it's a big way of evangelizing in a place like India, I think so.
Can we think of any other cultural element outside of Our Lady? She's been like this theme.
I know she's been this recurring theme. Today, but it's just, I don't know, just because she's everywhere. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I think that also just shows the beauty of the gift of a mother. I mean, all of us as humans, we have that experience of our mothers and that longing for that companionship and that warmth that they offer. And so we have Our Lady, the Blessed Mother, and I think that's where we feel just this ease of incorporating her one way or another clearly into our lives. I'm remembering that the diocese sent me to Mexico to study Spanish, to work on my Spanish. And when I was there, I learned a lot about how the Catholic faith is practiced in Mexico. Incredibly beautiful. That was the first time I had been to Mexico. And so just to see, even though here in San Antonio we have a lot of Mexican influence in our culture, but going into Mexico, deep into Mexico, just south of Mexico City, and seeing that experience of faith. And they have a lot of like you said, they put in India, I think you mentioned this, they put the statue of Our Lady outside, and people go and they reverence her. Similarly in Mexico, they have little shrines like in the neighborhoods. And just watching these men who are coming from work, with their dirty work boots on and their work clothes, and they're passing this small shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe right there in the street corner, and they bow and they bless themselves with the sign of the cross, and they continue on their journey. But seeing just like culturally, they may not be going to Mass, but they certainly recognize who Our Lady is, and like we talked about her a lot already, that she is someone of great importance in their life. And so I think we said it all already. Like that's really beautiful. But the invitation certainly is there. Let's not stop there, but really let's ask questions. I think this is something that our audience can do as well. Like, ask questions. Where do these cultural experiences come from? What's the origin of these? And in each one of our own cultures, and everyone certainly listening and watching, asking that question, like, culturally, what is the origin of these practices, and
why do we place so much importance on these? Why we do these things? Like, why not just do away with them? Or not that we should, but but yeah, again, like, why? Like,
asking that question, asking the question why.
No. So most of the practices that we do, I think it is coming from the missionaries that brought faith to India.
Okay.
So they brought whatever the Catholic practices were there in Europe, brought to India, and then so besides that, we had something to offer within our culture, Hindu culture, and both are combined. And most of the Catholics, they don't practice a kind of much of superstitious beliefs, but they have very beautiful ways of doing things. Like maybe when there is a feast of a certain saint, we celebrate annual feast of a saint in a parish. So we do mass in the morning, a solemn mass, but in the evening we bless the chariot, and we carry the chariot through the village.
Oh, really?
The entire village. People literally carry on their shoulders.
And there's a statue on.
Statue is very beautifully. It is decorated with plenty of flowers. And then people keep saying the rosary, and they go every street in the village. And it's a very, very beautiful way of celebrating the saint, and very meaningful, I think.
Wow.
The honor that God bestows on them, we are reaffirming that honor. I think it's a kind of, I think they did, I think many of the European missionaries did these kind of practices whenever they had pandemics. They carried the religious objects around, and then even the sacred cross, particles of sacred holy cross of Jesus. So those things healed the people from pandemics and then different kinds of diseases and things like that. So it's done even today in India very powerfully. So it's very beautiful.
I think there's another thing that comes to mind for the cultural Catholicism. At least us two. Yeah. We have very Catholic names. Moses.
That's true.
Biblical character. Yeah. Joseph.
And is your middle name?
I am not middle name. My first name is Prashanth. Prashanth means a kind of, literally it means peace.
Oh, okay.
So but Joseph is my father's name. So it's not actually literally my name.
Sure.
So it's more cultural. So it's a kind of Indian. Okay. Very Indian. Pardon me.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's very Indian. So.
Well, I was gonna say like my name Joseph, but my middle name is Patrick. I was born in March, so those are two big feast days in March.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, my parents are like
combined.
Growing up a Catholic family, they're like,
cool.
Hey, these two big saints in March. Let's name him Joseph Patrick.
That's cool. So you're destined to be a big saint, I guess.
Yeah. So.
Don't let us down, Joseph. Don't let us down, Joseph Patrick.
Yeah, we all are called to be saints at the end of the day. That should be our motive and goal.
Amen.
And we may strive as much we can and do and try.
Right.
To be there.
Yeah.
We know we have challenges, but we all need to try to think that is not something impossible, but that's a basic standard that God is asking us to live.
Absolutely. So in India, also use very biblical names as well traditionally or no?
It is it depends. So some of the priests, it's like like my name, my parents were illiterate. They didn't suggest the name. Sure. It was the priest. The pastor who picked the name and gave it to me.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like that. So it depends, and it sometimes nowadays the trend is that they will have some local name, something like Indian, and then something related to Catholic Church and the saint name or biblical name, something like that. It depends.
Wow.
Yeah. Depends from person to person.
And I know like in the Hispanic and Mexican traditions, like you get a lot of Jesuses, Maria, Jose, Maria Jose, or you put them together. You get all these very biblical saintly names, which is amazing. And I feel like that used to be the tradition and the culture where you would name your child after a saint. In my case, my dad named me, and it really wasn't about the biblical character Moses, or it was just a name he really liked. But nonetheless, it's a great name, and that's when I encounter people, they're like, "Oh, Moses, that's an easy name to remember." Like every time. It's funny. And then just recently in Torah class that I took this past semester, the name Moses obviously was just every day. It was repeated so many times in class. I was like, I've never heard my name this many times. It was really funny.
Yeah, like when you were saying about names, I remember something. Like most of the saints' names, very popular ones, like Peter, John, and Joseph. All these names are translated to our Indian languages. And then maybe I remember Joseph is called Susai Raj or Susai. Susayapar. Susayapar is Joseph, Saint Joseph. So Arulappa is Saint John.
Okay.
So Rayappa is Saint Peter.
Wow.
Rayappa means Rai means like a stone. So like kind of Saint Peter is referred as a rock.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So there's a lot of ways. People have tried to kind of culturally incorporate. The Catholic faith, and they have been successful. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
so that's cool because everywhere you go, again, like we talked about, the culture is the faith is kind of incorporated into the culture and it's brought to life. I think that's the way our faith is brought to life and experienced on earth. I mean, that's a gift to us that we have these cultures. They're unique, but that our faith is universal and it's incorporated into the way we live our life today. And that's a true gift, I think, for all of us. Well, listen, you guys, it's been a pleasure to just talk about our experiences in cultural Catholicism all the way from India. Prashanth, thanks for enlightening us and sharing those stories with us. And Joseph, of course, here you and I locally here in San Antonio talking about our experiences.
And I'll promise to one day go to the Passion Play downtown.
Yes.
Maybe you can even come to India. See the Passion Play in India. First, you need to see what is happening here in the town.
And then go over to India and see the way different cultures live their faith, which is a beautiful gift. Well, listen, hey, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe. Share this video with anyone who you think might be interested or learn from it. And leave a comment. Tell us about your experience of cultural Catholicism where you are. We definitely want to hear from you. Until next time, thank you so much, and God bless.